Hello, everybody. Good afternoon for those of you that are in the same time zone as us. For those of you on the West Coast, welcome. We have a bunch of people still logging on as the numbers continue to grow. We are about to start. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Brenda. It's nice to see you on our second webinar that we've done for our following here at Talk Boutique. A couple of quick things. I will do introductions in just a moment, and I'm really happy to have everyone here. I just want to point out that if you have any questions or comments as we go along, please drop them into the chat, and we will do our very best to cover them off. We are expecting quite a few people as we had a lot of people register for this. As people are logging on, I just want to remind people that we sent out a pre-poll, and we had a few people answer. The question was, how often do you find yourself presenting? One time per week, once a month, quarterly, or once a year? And Josh and Angela responded, as well as a number of others, and they were heavy presenters. They present at least one time a week, or once or more per week. I'm going to ask everyone else to answer that question. How often do you find yourself presenting? I believe that poll is going live to all of you right now, so please take a moment and answer that question. And we'll get started. So how often do you present? I'm just looking to see at the results here. Let's see. It's under the poll. Okay, so we have, oh, look at this. We have quite a few, more than almost 3/4 of you are once a week or more and once a month. So a third of you are once a week, a third of you are once a month, and the remainder are quarterly and once a year. So quite a few, when you think about that, once a month is quite a bit of time that you're spending on delivering your presentations. Now, I want to spend a little time explaining why we're here. And you're in the right place if you have what you think is like a TED Talk or that kind of a talk in you, but you're not sure how to get it out, that you have a big presentation at work, or you've had them and you just can't seem to get it right. It doesn't feel like it's landing right for you. Every time you present, you feel that the audience is tuning out. So the engagement isn't there. Or you take the time and watch great presenters and you think, oh man, how lucky is it that they're born with that skill or that gift? Well, here's the thing, you're not alone. No one is actually born a great presenter. Yes, there's the odd person that has this incredible gift, but almost all of them have taken the time to train themselves. Train themselves in developing great content for their subject matter, in giving themselves a structure in which to develop a really, really coherent presentation. They also work on their performance. They think about how they're going to be seen on stage or in front of an audience. And they think about how they want to engage that audience through that presentation. So this is something that is very, very common with presentations and with great presenters. But here's the thing, you can learn the skills and the tools learned by the best presenters in the world. You can, it's not a secret. There are lots of things that you can do to make yourself a really strong presenter. So today, I'm going to share with you the secret behind amazing presentations. But here's the thing, we don't like just saying that we're going to share a secret with you. We're actually going to give you 3 secrets. We're going to give you 3 key things that you can use time and again that will help your presentations and make them more engaging. The third one, and I will be honest, I mean, they're all very important, but the third one is key. So let me start by doing some quick introductions on the coaches here at Talk Boutique. My name is Nick Kindler, and I'm the co-founder and executive communication coach and speaker coach. And for those of you that know me, I'm an internal entrepreneur, and I'm really passionate about two things. I'm passionate about innovation, and I'm passionate about communications. And there's a few of you on that may know me from my previous career as a creative director, producer, and owner of a company that did meetings and events. But I'm also a former actor, comedian, and writer. I've been coaching speakers, TEDx speakers, leaders, corporate executives, and entrepreneurs for almost 15 years and helping them deliver their best possible talks. I'm also the co-founder of Talk Boutique. And what we do here is we are a speaker development company, we're a speaker representation company, and we're an event curation company. Now, I am one of the co-founders. The other co-founder, who is actually, I kind of feel like cheating and lifting the computer. She's just over here, is Andrea Sampson. And she is co-founder, as I mentioned, of Talk Boutique, as well as an executive communication coach, as well as a seasoned facilitator. And she's a business strategist, marketing expert, and Andrea has spent a lot of time in her career helping some of the best known brands in the world succeed. She spent a lot of time in her career in the world of insights, in senior roles in advertising and marketing. And through that, she had a natural talent for developing compelling stories and persuasive content. And this passion for insights and ideas led her to TEDx Toronto about 6-7 years ago, where she first began training as a TEDx speaker coach. And she had the opportunity to coach dozens of successful TEDx speakers, leaders, and executives. And as I mentioned, she's also the co-founder of our company, Talk Boutique. Now, I'd known Andrea for a while, but we were reacquainted when she asked me to join the programming team a number of years ago and become a coach on TEDx Toronto. And it was a spectacular experience. And we both had kind of a big takeaway, if you will, from our time at TED. Now, just to explain, I'm pretty sure most of you know this, but TEDx or TED in general is a conference and a movement where they look for people with big ideas, big change makers, if you will, and put those ideas on stage. Those are their ideas worth spreading. And so our big takeaway came from this. We witnessed the TED conference and built these conferences. And for every 10 speakers that would grace the TED stage, and this is the truth, the fact of the matter across any TED conference, for every speaker, there were about 1,000 other speakers, other change makers that never got onto the stage. They were on a long list. And we call those people change makers in waiting. They are people with amazing ideas, amazing insights, awesome opportunities to literally change how we see the world and live in our world. And so Andrea and I thought, well, how do we take this idea and move forward with it? How do we bring it out into the world? So we curated TEDx Toronto. We've worked with Singularity U Canada and curated their conferences and their learning experiences. We've also worked with Elevate Toronto, which is the Elevate Toronto Festival, on curating their programs. And that's just to name a few. We've worked with the Children's Aid Foundation. We've worked with scientists and academics from all over the world to help them build their conferences in the way that TED delivers theirs, helping identify their change makers and bringing them on to the stage. And here's the thing. There are millions of people that can change the world, and only a handful ever do. And those change makers in waiting, we look at those change makers in waiting, we think it's a tragedy that they are literally on the sidelines, because those are the people that are going to make a real difference in our world. So how do you become a change maker and not a change maker in waiting? And we want to walk you through some things that you can do to embrace that inner change maker within you. And over the next 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to walk you through a few things. Number one, you'll learn how to incorporate story narrative in all of your presentations, how to use emotional language to powerfully engage your audiences, how to develop a clear takeaway for your audience, what we call a statement of purpose. And we're going to show you, this is kind of the big secret, if you will, how to use our talk canvas and how to powerfully deliver every presentation. So those are the things we're going to walk you through today. I will remind you that we have our hashtag changemakers. Please share the hashtag and what you're learning as you go along. Also, please make sure that you stick around and we'll answer questions as we go along. And also stick around because we have some surprises for you right near the end. We're really excited about some of the things that we can share with you. So let's start with our first big secret. Let's get started. You guys ready? Is everyone ready? Let me see some reaction. Let's see a yes or a thumbs up on the chat. I see things starting to populate. Awesome. Okay, let's start. The first big secret, and this is one that we feel very passionate about, is start with story. All right, Rebecca, here you go. I can see that. You're ready. Woot, woot. Start with story. And starting with story is may seem very simple, but it's actually something that those who are deeply immersed in a subject matter have a very hard time doing. Starting with story is a challenge for those who are in technology, for those who are in academia, those who are in business, because a lot of people feel that they need to share the facts and information. And the story is actually going to help them do that. Let me explain a little bit about how you can start with story. We like to look at story by using what we call the story spine. And there are 5 different elements to the story spine. And I'm going to walk you through them pretty quickly. The first is environment. Okay, where are they? What does it look like? What is the setting of this story? The second is characters. Environment, then characters. And by the way, I'm not telling you the story spine, the order in which you build your story. You can do it, but these are the ingredients that will make your story successful. So, environment. What does it look like? Let's just say that the environment is on the coast of Canada. And let's say it's the eastern coast on the outskirts of Halifax as the waves are rushing in. The characters, it could be that we have a couple that's on holiday. June and Roger are on holiday. And this is their honeymoon, in fact. So they're newlyweds. We're now getting a little more information about these individuals. Now, the next element, the third element in the story spine is issue or conflict or opportunity. What's the issue? What's the conflict? What's the opportunity? Now, if there is a tremendous issue, conflict, or opportunity with June and Roger that is related to the environment, even better. And we have an opportunity now to build this story. Now, I'm just making this up. Roger is fishing, and he gets swept out to sea by a giant wave. That is terrifying. And the fourth element, the fourth aspect of the story spine is that the stakes or the importance go up. And the worst thing is that Roger doesn't know how to swim. I just raised the stakes. And he's not wearing a life jacket. I just raised the stakes. And the fifth element, the fifth aspect of the story spine is the ending, the outcome or the conclusion. Now, I'm not looking to create a tragedy here. So Roger, there's a giant wave that pushes Roger up onto the shore, and June and Roger are reunited, and they have a tremendously happy and contented time on the outskirts of Halifax on their honeymoon. So a very simple story, not very complex, but there was environment, characters, issue and conflict opportunities, importance of or stakes that were raised, and finally an ending, an outcome or conclusion. Now I'm going to be very honest here. What was number 3? It was a question that was asked. Number 3 is issue, conflict, and opportunities. And I'm going to repeat them because it sounds like I may be going a little bit too quickly. Environment, characters, issue, conflict, and opportunities, importance or stakes, so we've raised the stakes, and then finally, ending, outcome, or conclusion. And what I want to point out here is when we run these programs and workshops for academics and scientists and technologists, people that have deep subject matter, this is the part where they get most uncomfortable and they get the most excited. I know that sounds a bit odd, but they're not used to embracing story. So we give them this beginning framework to help get them in line and in the mindset. One thing to think about with these 5 pieces of the story spine, and I'll speak from my own experience. If you've ever been in a social setting where one person, it's like a cocktail party, and one person is telling a story, and it's really funny, and everyone laughs, and another person tells a story, and you think, oh, you know what, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to tell a story. So you tell that story, and for some reason it lands with a thud, and you don't know why. It's because you don't have the 5 elements of the story spine included. So keep those 5 elements of the story spine in mind, and you will have a successful story, because we are not just telling you to tell stories for the sake of telling stories. As we discovered through our work with TED, stories are carriers for ideas. They're vessels for big concepts. They're vessels for very complex information. I mean, we are currently working with multiple cohorts of regenerative scientists at Mars who are using stories to help us understand how tissue engineering takes place and how vascularization of the pancreas takes place. These are not easy concepts to understand, but the stories can help them become much more clear. So that is our first secret. Our first secret, start with story. You guys ready for the second story? I'm going to move on. The second big secret is, I like to call it, I second that emotion. And really, when I say I second that emotion, what I mean is that emotion adds so much to any sort of presentation or any sort of talk. Whether you're trying to convey happy or good news, or it's a serious subject matter, or something that's tragic, or you're very passionate and want to ensure that change happens, you can use emotion to great effect in order to connect with your audience. Now, just to be clear, one way to do that is to use the right kind of language. The reality is words have tremendous power. And in the work that we do with our clients, we touch on the power of rhetoric. And again, I'm going to go back to the fact that we work with a lot of senior leaders and academics and scientists that actually try and avoid using rhetoric. Now, what is rhetoric? Rhetoric, I'll try and say that again. Rhetoric is language that appeals mainly to emotions to inform or persuade. So it's language that appeals to emotions that informs or persuades. And I think it's really important to share that we can do some amazing things with persuasive or emotional language. And I just want to share with you something that, because a lot of people look at rhetoric as something that is negative. And in terms of connecting with an audience and engaging a group, We know that researchers from Emory University reported in Brain and Language magazine that when subjects in their lab read a metaphor or heard a metaphor involving texture, the sensory cortex responsible for perceiving texture through touch actually became active. So just to be clear, metaphors like the singer had a velvet voice or he had leathery hands created an activation in the sensory cortex, while phrases that match that meaning, like the singer had a pleasing voice or he had strong hands, did not. So what that means is that when you're using story, you are actually, and rhetoric specifically, you're actually capitalizing on a tool that will unknowingly connect with the audience in ways that they aren't aware of. It's a underutilized tool. Now, what are the different forms of rhetoric? And I just want to spend a moment here walking you through the different forms of rhetoric. I'm going to walk you through all 6 of these: repetition, diacope, metaphor, simile, and alliteration, and rhetorical questions. So I'm going to start with repetition. Now, repetition is a very powerful tool. Basically, when you repeat something, it has an impact. And you can see it very much in the I Have a Dream speech, where, and if you haven't watched Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, go on to YouTube, you can find it and watch the whole thing. It is a magnificent piece of writing full of powerful rhetoric. He repeats freedom, the word freedom, 20 times. He repeats the word we 30 times. He repeats the word nation 10 times, and dream, it is called the I Have a Dream speech, 11 times. Not only that, but he repeats at the beginning of neighboring clauses. So that's why we know I have a dream. And that's why we have now is the time repeated a number of times. And right at the end, let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring. So repetition is very, very powerful. The other one, which you may not be familiar with, is diacope. Diacope was actually used within the I Have a Dream speech right at the end. It's actually the repetition of several words or phrases with a interruption, something that crashes in between. So for example, free at last, here comes the diacope. Thank God Almighty, crashing in, we are free at last. Another famous one from movies is the classic introduction. Oh, what's your name? Bond, James Bond. So we have a classic diacope, and I couldn't resist. Thanks very much. So we are looking at metaphors, which are the next ones that I'd like to share with you. And these are associate concepts with images and emotions. It's an implied comparison between two unlike things. So, for example, I am lost or I'm drowning in a sea of grief. Or she is the light of my life. These are very common metaphors that are used, but at the same time, they can be used to explain things that are a little more unknown or people that are unaware of, and especially in complex concepts. Similes are the comparison of two unlike things, but using like or as. So he says, phony as a $3 bill, or from one of my favorite movies, Forrest Gump, here we go, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. So you have Forrest Gump actually comparing his life like a box of chocolates. But it's one of those lines, again, from that movie, but also a simile that people remember, and it helps people understand. Now, alliteration is pretty straightforward. It's the beginning of using the same letter at the beginning of every word. So Obama used it very effectively, saying that we have the finest fighting force of any nation. And JFK used it in his inaugural address. He said, I will lead the land we love. lead the land we love. Again, these rhetorical devices allow people to connect in a way that in a way that they aren't even aware of, because it's lighting up their sensory cortex. The final one is rhetorical questions. And they're really great to be used to use at the beginning of a presentation or at the beginning of a section. So for example, I could have started today by asking all of you, how are all of you sabotaging your presentations? And if I were to stop and let you think about that, your mind would wander. You'd start to think about a number of things. What am I doing? Is it my prep time? Is it how I'm delivering? Maybe I don't know my content well enough. And it allows, again, an active journey to be taking place with the listener or the participant, so that you're engaging with them in another way. So those are the secrets of rhetoric and story. And I want to take a moment now to move forward and share with you the third and final big secret. And that is, use the talk canvas. Now, the talk canvas, I just want to be very clear here. We use this talk canvas as a tried and true structure for developing any talk, any presentation. And in fact, this has been something we've modified, that we've used for many, many years. I have leaders that I haven't worked with for a number of years reach out to me and say, hey, can you send me that canvas again? Because I've got to develop a talk coming up very soon. And they reuse it time and again. In fact, I had a coffee with a client that I just connect with every once in a while, and he opened up his folder to show me, hey, look what I'm working on. And he showed me his talk canvas. Let me walk you through it. I want to share this with you, because this, to me, is one of the biggest. If you're going to take one big thing away, use the talk canvas. So let's take a look through. I'm going to walk you through this. So when you start with any presentation, and I'm going to ask you to start at the top where it says commanding opening. This is the flow of a talk. We're going to start with the commanding opening, and the commanding opening acts as either an impact statement, and it gets your audience leaning in and listening. This is where story really starts. And look, using an analogy or a metaphor is perfectly fine. But if you really want to make an impact, you need to, and it takes a little more work, but anything that's worthwhile doing usually does take a little more effort. Find a personal story, something that you are connected with in some way, shape, or form. Again, working with one of the incredible scientists from Mars that I was working with yesterday, she told me that she was going to share with her talk on her particular subject matter, that she actually decided to get into her field of study because her uncle suffered so much when having to receive a bone marrow transplant, and subsequently passed away. It was her driving force and part of the ambition that led her to take on that field of study, and one of the reasons why she wanted to share what she was sharing that in that talk. So commanding opening that's personal has way more impact than just a regular story. I don't want to downplay the importance of any other story. If you don't have a personal one that fits, find a story that does. Then you move on to your statement of purpose. And the statement of purpose, I'm going to come back to and help you start your own statement of purpose here today. But this is why you're here. It's your intended takeaway. In scientific circles, you would call it a thesis. But we try and get less clinical. We don't include rhetoric. We try and remove emotional language from it, but we do want it to be ultra clear, and it takes quite a bit of work on developing a statement of purpose. And again, I'm going to come back to that. We then move into your essential messages, and your essential message one is going to reinforce that statement of purpose. Underneath that essential message one, you're going to have support for that essential message. And yes, this is where you may have data and research that you want to share, but you can also use story here and I would encourage you to use story here to bring that research and story to life. The great speaker, Drew Dudley, said, "Don't tell me what you know. Tell me how and why you know it." And this is really important when you're going through your data. We want to make sure that you're sharing information in a way that is powerful and connects and isn't just a list of stats. Then you have a key point, which is actually a repetition. You're going to take something from that support that you feel is really important and you're going to reinforce it. So what's your key point or your key takeaway? Now, you'll notice in here that we have that 3 times. So you've got your essential message 2, you're going to go into your support for essential message 2 and your key point, and then we're going to do the same thing for essential message 3 and moving on down. There's a saying in communications, which is, and I think a few of you are comms people, that you tell them again, and then you tell them what you told them. And that's very true in our Talk Canvas model here too. We want you to repeat things a few times, and that key point is really important, that you're repeating something that's vital, a vital takeaway. And so just to be clear, you're starting with your commanding opening, you're going down to your statement of purpose, you're moving to your essential message 1, support for essential message 1, key point for essential message 1, then you're moving back up to your essential message 2 and down to your support, your key point, and up to 3. Now, we've put in 3 here, 3 columns. You may only have 1 column, depends how long your talk is. You may have 2, you may have 3, you may have 5 columns, depending if you're doing a 45-minute keynote. And then finally, you're moving into your close. And in your close, you always refer back to your commanding opening or your impact statement. You're reiterating that statement of purpose, and you have to close with a call to action. So this is the canvas. And I'm going to just jump forward for a moment and look at that statement of purpose. We spend a lot of time on that statement of purpose when we're working with our speakers, especially TED speakers. We could spend 2 to 3 working sessions just on developing that statement of purpose. Why you're there, what's your intended takeaway. We distill some of their big, complex ideas down to a sentence or 2 that has no emotional language. And here's how we do it. Here's how we do it. We take your topic, and we take your point, and we bring them together. So the topic is what you want to share. Today I'm here to talk to you about blank, and we really want you to make it neutral. And the point of the talk is your premise. It's what you want them to believe or to understand about that topic. So today I'm here to talk to you about blank. And the one thing I want you to take away, or the one thing I want to convince you of, is blank. And we're actually going to share with you our Talk Canvas. I believe it's either being shared now or at the end. I'm not sure which one. Is it being shared now or at the end? It's being shared now. And you can use that as something that you can print out and help you to develop your statement of purpose and your entire Talk Canvas. Now, please note that you can reprint this Talk Canvas and reuse it. When we use it in our workshops, we give multiple Talk Canvases out because we believe in the power of iteration and rework and editing. So that is the Talk Canvas. And folks, I'm looking at the time. You've just learned the basics. We've just shared with you the exact process that we use with every speaker that we work with. And I just want to recap for a moment what we've covered off in a very short period of time. We've talked about how to incorporate narrative in all your presentations, the important use of emotional language to powerfully engage your audience, how to develop a clear takeaway for your audience, so that statement of purpose, a focused purpose, and we've shared with you the proven and flexible framework of the Talk Canvas.
I know we had just a limited time together today, but given the time that we did have, did I do a good job of giving you information, even if you left the room right now, that you could use to and apply to your next presentation or the next time you need to communicate with a group? Let me know in the chat by saying yes or no. And I'm just going to give everyone a chance to respond. Okay. Excellent. Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. So I'm going to just add a couple of quick things here. This is everything I've shared with you today. This process is not just theory. It's exactly what many of our clients use to build their successful talks. And I wanted to share with you what a few of them had to say about working with us. Mark Bowden, who is a very successful speaker and a speaker coach, he said that even Tiger Woods has a coach, and that when he needs help pushing his speaking to the highest levels, he goes to Andrea and the team at Talk Boutique and helps him give his very best performance. We love working with Mark. He's a tremendous speaker and an amazing coach. Andrea and Nick, according to Randy Vanderstart from Take Your Seat, has made him a better speaker because we showed him how to tell human stories. He talked about how he's become more vulnerable on stage and making a large audience feel like they're an audience of one. So he is a very talented speaker and someone that we greatly admire in the work he's doing with Take Your Seat. Dr. Molly Shoykett, who's a TEDx speaker, as well as the former chief scientist for Ontario, she says that she appreciated the critical feedback we gave her, that it was productive and effective, and we gave her great advice on content and delivery. And finally, Marianne Lefebvre, also a TEDx speaker, she finds that us at Talk Boutique, we challenge her thinking and push her to strip her message to the core, also saying that we gave her the tools and confidence to put it out there. So we love working with these change makers, and this work that we do, it's a proven process. It's as I said, it's not just theory. We use this process and all of the tips and tools that we've and strategies that we've covered off today, and more. I mean, everything we've just touched on is just kind of like the tip of the iceberg for each one of them. And you can see the results in our TEDx speakers, the leaders that we work with, corporate executives, entrepreneurs, and of course our Singularity U faculty. So there's a lot more to it. And because of that, I wanted to get permission from all of you to tell you something that I'm really excited about. If it's okay with you, can I just talk to you for a moment about something that we're doing that's coming up in the fall? Awesome. Okay, great. I'm getting a few people saying, yes, tell me. All right, great. So this fall, we are offering for the first time to the general public our story building and performance workshop for presenters. Story building and performance for presenters workshop. Now, this is the first time we've offered it to the general public. It's going to be held on September 28th here at our office at East Room from 9 until 4:30 p.m. 9 a.m. until 4:30 p.m., September 28th. Now, we don't, as I said, we don't offer this to the public. We usually offer this as a custom workshop or program to organizations like Deloitte, Bridgeable, Bank of Montreal, Tribal Scale, Children's Aid Foundation, U of T and Medicine by Design have had this program many times. We had custom programs for Wattpad and Benares as well. So we're very excited to be able to bring this to an open enrollment workshop situation like this for all of you. Now, what does it include? It includes a whole section on body language, vocal skills, and all of this helps to improve your confidence. You also get a little bit of one-on-one coaching with world-class TED-trained speaker coaches. We encourage you to develop the idea that you bring to the workshop into a big idea and translate it into a talk or presentation. We will touch on what is the right visual support for your talk. we're going to give you an opportunity to perform in front of an audience. And for some of you, that would be the kind of the thing that is probably most terrifying, but that's okay. It's a very safe and encouraging environment that we create. We also touch on something really interesting called internalization, which is how do you take all that content in your script that you've developed and put it into practice so that it feels like you're saying it for the first time, which really enhances your delivery. We also recognize that live experiences, anything can happen. So we show you how to incorporate play and improv into your speaking style. And at the end of the day, we're going to help you fine tune your idea, clarify your message, and really develop your style. So that's what you get. Now, what you really get is kind of a Kickstarter. A lot of people, when they're starting their presentations, they just stare at that blank page, and we give you freedom from that. We help you by giving you the tools and techniques to get you moving and developing and delivering your talk quickly. We also know that those who communicate more effectively and present very well actually go further in their careers. So you get career advancement opportunities from this. And finally, you become more confident so you can leave that fear of public speaking behind. But I guess most importantly, you get to develop ideas that might one day actually have an impact and change the world. We want you to become not a change maker in waiting, but a change maker actually delivering and acting on your ideas. So the workshop, which includes content, performance, one-on-one with coaches, the Talk Canvas workbook, as well as classroom materials, it's usually a value of about $1,200. But because you've invested your time here today, and we don't want you to be a change maker in waiting, we want you to take your space. We are reducing that for all of you to just $850. Again, you get all of the same content, performance, working with the coaches, Talk Canvas workbook materials, now for just $850. And here's where I feel like I'm going to do my shopping channel bit. And that's not all because you're on this call, because you're on this webinar, we're going to offer an additional offer to all of you. It's $850 plus a BOGO. Buy one and get one 50% off. So that means if you buy one, and your second ticket will be $425. So that's what we're offering you, a full day workshop for $850 for a single seat, or a second seat at 50% off, $425.
I've been doing all the talking. I'd love to see some talking happening in the chat. I'd love to take your questions, and we have quite a few people still online. What can I hit? Do you do corporate workshops? Christina wants to know if we do corporate workshops. And to go back to that slide, I'm not going to go back to that slide, but we do a lot of corporate workshops with very large organizations, blue chip companies. So yes, this kind of workshop we can do as a half day for some of that content. Full day, we do multi-day workshops, and then we also do ongoing programs and intensives. Yes, hello. We would love to chat with you about a session for Executive MBA in April. We would love to talk to you about that as well. You can either, we should reach out, I can reach out to you independently, and we've captured that, and we will definitely do that. That's a great idea. We'd love to do that. Thank you. Jen, any specific recommendations for translating this method into bland academic presentations? Yes, we have recommendations for that. Jen, I'd be interested to know what kind of academia you're looking at. But as I mentioned, we work with Medicine by Design, Summer by Design, and we work with, Singularity U speakers who are often deeply immersed in academia and technology, and we teach them and train them in how to get their stories out. Now, specific recommendations. I don't want to sound like a broken record, Jen, but what we talk about here are very specific recommendations. I would look at first of all, drill down what the statement of purpose would be on that academic presentation. What is it that you're talking? What's the topic? What's the point? Second, do a little bit of a brainstorm on what kind of stories and analogies can be used to help bring that content to life. And if there's rich data, again, dive into story. Help bring it to life by creating context, because context is everything. And Jen, I don't know if I'll be able to do it justice in the short time we have. So if you have other questions, please reach out to us. You can reach out to Gabby at talkboutique.com. That's GABBY at talkboutique.com. And she can connect you with myself or Andrea or one of our coaches as well. Any other questions about the content, about the workshop, about any of our services? Anything at all? We are, anything at all. Happy to dive into any other sort of content related questions. Would you consider a further reduced fee for the workshop for new entrepreneurial businesses with a tight budget? From Sabrina. So Sabrina, we are tremendously appreciative and respectful of our entrepreneurs, as we are also entrepreneurs. Send us a note. We are open to it. It's within reason. Everything is possible. So why don't you also reach out to Gabby at talkboutique.com, and we can have a conversation. We truly believe in supporting organizations that can get something from our work, but also that individuals that we believe can help make a difference in the world. So we look at it on a case-by-case basis, and if we can help make a difference, then we do. So absolutely. Thank you, Raka. We will see you soon. You're very welcome, and we'll definitely reach out about the Executive MBA in April. And Jen, of course, a pleasure. Any other questions? People are starting to sign off. I want to say one thing as people sign off. I want to say that I know that your time is precious, and you've all given your time here today, so I want to thank you for that. But I want you to also know that your presentations and your communications are equally precious. And they're not just precious, they're a gift that you need to take good care of. You need to package with care, you need to put together with care, and you just share them with the world so that they are well thought out and well developed. And we hope that this, what we've shared with you today, will help you do that. And we also hope that you'll also be able to tap into some of the work that we're offering and workshops that we're offering, like the one that we've offered today. We hope that you're able to join us on September 14th for our workshop. And please share with others that this workshop is happening, because we do have the capacity to grow it beyond a certain attendee list. So thank you so much. Any other questions that I haven't covered? Otherwise, I will sign off. Looks like we are done with our questions. I want to say thank you again to everybody, and remember that there's no point in being a change maker and waiting. Get your ideas down on paper, start to articulate them, and start to develop them, and help make this world a better place because you've shared your ideas. Okay, thank you all very much. We're going to leave this the chat open for a little bit, but I'm going to sign off. I appreciate your feedback, Sabrina. I appreciate all of your input. And there will be an evaluation that's coming out as well. So please evaluate our webinar. These are just one of many webinars that we hope to host moving forward. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming, and have a great day.